All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. First, I just want to say really appreciate you all coming out towards the end of Dias. I'm sure it's been a long couple days. A lot of good information, hopefully. And yeah, hopefully we can also give you all some good background about Genie. My name is Hanlin. I'm a product manager for Genie, and I'm joined by Shah, our engineering manager. We're super excited to be here today to give you all a comprehensive guide on how to curate and manage your Genie spaces. So a quick agenda, we'll start with a refresher on what exactly Genie is. Next, we'll talk about the best practices on how to set it up, especially with our new knowledge store. Then we'll talk about how to manage a production space, and then Shah will take us through a live demo to showcase how to add this context to Genie. We'll wrap it up with a roadmap and a Q&A. So first, what exactly is Genie again? At the summit last year, we announced AIBI as a way for your users to quickly get insights into their top line KPIs and also to talk to their data with Genie. The goal of Genie is to help any user answer their ad hoc data questions, no matter what type of technical capability they have. No matter if you're a data analyst or just a business user, we want to help you get your ad hoc questions answered. What makes Genie really unique is its ability to answer with context-aware results. It's able to do this by generating context from your data intelligence platform. It's fully backed by Unity Catalog, so all of your results are secured by row level and column level security, and is accessible anywhere. You can embed Genie directly into your dashboards or integrate them into custom apps via API. Just to reiterate, what truly sets Genie apart is its ability to leverage context from your data intelligence platform. After you define a data topic and specify a tight set of tables, Genie will automatically understand your schemas, your table relationships, and your table descriptions. It also additionally looks through your existing query objects and dashboards to learn from that context and answer net new data questions. Authors can then enrich that space's understanding with additional instructions at the space level. And finally, they can iterate with user feedback and also test their quality with benchmarks. It's been amazing to see how customers have already been able to leverage Genie. The folks at Sega were able to help their executives get insights into questions like, how are my games selling in China compared to last year? And HP was able to help their business users get access to critical data, make data-driven decisions faster and more efficiently, all without needing to understand SQL. So now that we've understood, Genie's benefits from a high level, let's now go through the actual setup best practices. Again, the first step is to make sure you have a focused data topic defined and adding a tight, non-conflicting data set. This is really key to Genie's ability in generating accurate SQL and being able to reason through your data. Next is to make sure you enrich the context with high-quality table and column descriptions and adding in table relationships. This is how Genie is able to map user prompts to the actual values. We also started to calculate some of this metadata automatically for you. So Genie automatically, when you drop in a table, calculates column statistics and example values. Another big part of conversational analytics is being able to map a user prompt to the actual data values inside of your table. So for example, a business user might ask, show me sales for all of my shoe products. And I might have a column called product name that has casual shoes, athletic shoes, sandals, different values that all correspond to shoes. To help Genie with this mapping, we've released the Value Dictionaries feature recently. This gives Genie that necessary critical context about the actual unique string values inside of your data, so then it can translate those questions into the actual values. Then when you ask for sales for shoes, Genie is able to write a filter statement with product name, in, and then all the unique values that it corresponds to. So after Genie understands your data, it also needs to understand your business semantics. And to teach Genie this, authors can add in example SQL statements. Example SQL statements can then be associated with the natural language business user question, and then Genie will dynamically apply that as context. So if I add an example SQL statement for show me sales, over X amount of time, that context will be applied only on relevant user questions, which really allows you to add a lot of great context to Genie. To make this process even easier, the data intelligence platform will actually also suggest popular queries. So based on the tables you add, we will look through your data intelligence platform, see the popular queries that people have executed, and suggest those to authors as context. So after Genie understands your data and your business semantics, you can also give it some general guidance via text. It's important to note that you prioritize the table metadata and the example SQL because those are more dynamically applied. There are some good things you can include via text, such as teaching when Genie should ask clarification questions and also how to format responses. To make these text instructions really accurate, there are a couple best practices. First is to make sure that you're keeping them as concise and direct as possible. Phrase the text as an explicit direction, such as when the user asks this, make sure to include that, or always format your responses in this manner. You can also help the LLM by organizing it as a list with dashes and asterisks, because this is really helps for the Genie to understand a list of instructions and also easier for you as authors to collaborate. There are some common pitfalls to avoid as well. First, make sure you don't overload and add conflicting instructions, as this will confuse the LLMs just as you would confuse a new starting data analyst with a huge list of text instructions that conflict with each other. The other thing is to not add context as text that better belongs in other places. So don't go into your text instructions and enumerate explicit column values. That's already done for you with value dictionaries. And don't add SQL logic as text, as it's more effective to add example SQL, which is more dynamically applied. So this is great. Those are the best practices that you have in the last couple weeks. But we've heard a lot of challenges that customers face as well, and we want to make the setup process easier. First was that many users actually lacked the permissions they needed to add Genie context. A lot of people building spaces may not have the underlying permissions to edit column metadata or to build materialized views to pre-join their data. The second challenge we often heard was that users often overloaded their text instructions with unhelpful context. And honestly, this was also because Genie didn't give a lot of guidance on how to add questions. To help solve for these problems, we're super excited to announce our new knowledge store. This is a revamped local semantic model for your Genie spaces so that you can quickly iterate on context. There are two principles for this. First is that we want to help authors edit their table metadata locally. Instead of having to edit everything and request permissions at the Unity catalog level, we want to support authors to be able to quickly iterate on metadata inside of the Genie space. Second is releasing a set of new instruction types. So in coordination with your general text and your example SQL, we're releasing a set of more structured, fine-grained instruction formats that are easier for authors to add. Let's take a little bit more detail on what are the new ways you can add context to Genie. So first, how exactly do I edit metadata locally? The first thing you could do with the knowledge store is actually hide unnecessary or conflicting columns directly inside of a Genie space. So previously, if I didn't have permissions, I would need to create a materialized view or ask someone to do that for me. But now I can directly just drop in my tables, and any unnecessary or conflicting columns, I can just hide directly inside of a Genie space. This helps you really simplify your data sets and make it an easier problem for the LLMs. Second is now each Genie space has a local version of your table and column descriptions. So again, in the past, a lot of table descriptions might just be empty, and users who want to build Genie spaces couldn't even edit those and add that metadata. Now there's a local copy of your table and column descriptions that's first populated from Unity Catalog, and then you can add or edit them. You can always revert back to whatever's in Unity Catalog as well. And finally, we've added an explicit column synonym field. A lot of times what we saw is that data has cryptic column names with a lot of underscores and acronyms that don't make a lot of sense. To help guide authors into giving helpful context, we've added an explicit field so authors can explain what these cryptic columns mean in business terms. Another key challenge was that if you don't have table permissions, you can't add PKFK relationships in Unity Catalog to teach Genie the join relationships. And to help this, we're starting to release a feature for you to explicitly define join relationships directly inside of Genie. In the long term, we also want to suggest these join relationships directly from the context of your previous queries, dashboards, and notebooks. And finally, we're also introducing a new set of SQL expression primitives. So going back a bit, the example SQL statement is really helpful. It's helpful to teach Genie how to answer those common business user questions, and you can imagine it almost as a scripted page of context. But for general knowledge, it's actually more helpful if you give Genie bullet points, right? Smaller pieces of granular context, and that's what the SQL expression allows you to do. You can now define explicitly the measures, dimensions, and filters for your data set. This helps authors by giving a structured input field so they understand, hey, if I need to define a KPI for Genie, I can add a name, I can add the SQL code and the synonyms, and then Genie will be able to take that granular piece of information as context. These instruction types capture more context by using less LM tokens as well, which gives you the ability to add more context overall. And finally, these instructions will be used by Genie's RAG structure to be dynamically applied per user prompt. So you've seen all the new ways that authors have to iterate on their instructions and really be able to provide helpful context to an LLM. But we also want to make this building process easier. One of our upcoming features is to actually auto-suggest instructions as users simply converse with the Genie space. So Ken went over this a little bit earlier in our keynote, but as authors simply click thumbs up on a question, Genie will attempt to learn and extract new information from that back and forth response. After you click a thumbs up, Genie will suggest those instructions, which the author can then review and then accept. This way, you can make it a lot easier for authors to simply just talk to their Genie space, ask questions, give it thumbs up, and iterate on their context over time. And finally, we know that you can build all the context there, but evaluation is also just as important. Genie's benchmarks feature allows you to add these benchmark questions and its associated gold standard SQL. Then you can just click run, and we will submit those questions to Genie and evaluate the query results between the two. Awesome. So now you know from a high level how to exactly build a Genie space, what are the new context types we've added to make it really effective for the LLMs, but how do you roll this out to users and manage it in production? There are 3 key steps to this. First is self-validation. It's really important to identify those 10 to 20 important business user questions that a Genie should answer and add them to the benchmarks at the start. Then you can iterate and make sure that it has the context needed to answer those. Also, as data teams, Genie we found to be really effective to answer ad hoc questions that they have. When business users come in and ask those ad hoc questions, the data teams can be the ones themselves to use Genie, quickly get those insights, and give them back. After you've self-validated, it's really important that you stage your rollout to Genie as well. Start with a set of focused business users who can work with you to give that helpful feedback and improve your context. Then stage that rollout out so that you can continue bringing in groups of users over time. It really helps to onboard these business users properly as well. And a couple best practices for this is to pair it with a dashboard, write user guides, and also to add those starter questions inside of a Genie space. And finally is to continue ongoing and improve your Genie space over time. The beauty of Genie is that it's not just a static dashboard, but you can add to its knowledge and understanding over time to continue answering more and more questions. You can track user prompts and their feedback via the monitoring tab and also the Autolog system table. You can then improve your benchmark sets, improve the context, rerun your benchmarks, and rerun. I'm going to highlight a couple pieces of this rollout process in a bit more detail. First is pairing Genie with dashboards. To give business users more context on what they can ask to their Genie space, it really helps to pair with a dashboard to show it the top-line KPIs that are associated with the Genie space. The experience is also better together as well. Users can directly select a data set or a visualization and right-click and ask follow-ups to Genie. You can also start to ask why-type questions with this integration as well. So if I see an increase or decrease in one of my trends, I can just right-click, ask Genie, why did this happen? And we will launch a top drivers analysis. Another important step of the rollout process is to make sure that you're monitoring user feedback. You can track usage and feedback via the monitoring tab, and also you can use the thumbs up and thumbs down to influence what context you add. It's important to know that those thumbs up and thumbs downs that users add don't automatically update the space because we don't want potentially incorrect ratings to affect the Genie's quality. We also have the audit logs, which tracks all of the specific actions that happen inside of a Genie space. You can also set up Databricks alerts on this, so you can trigger email notifications and other notifications to let you know when a request for a review, a thumbs down, or any other action happened. You can then, again, add those new business user questions to the benchmarks, improve the context, and repeat this process. And finally, we know a lot of you folks are looking at API use cases as well, and so there are a couple best practices for these rollouts. First, for better performance, make sure that you're including a request queuing and then only polling for status every 5 to 10 seconds, and also implementing an exponential backoff. And finally, to improve the quality of a Genie space, make sure that you're starting new conversation threads for each user session, as this keeps the context window clean. Awesome. So now I've gone through a high level of how to set up your Genie spaces, what are the new primitives, and I'll hand it off over to Shah to show you all a live demo on how to build a space.
Hey folks, I'm Shah Amini. I'm the engineering manager for Genie, and today I'm gonna pretend to be a sales analyst at this company called Acmico. So I have a table here, it's called Big Rock Opportunity. And if you attended our Data and AI Summit Best Practices talk last year, or you watched the recording, you'll see that the data is actually similar. Last year, we recommended to you to create views or materialize views on top of these tables to really curate and focus your analysis with Genie. And you can also increase the performance by using materialized views. But we heard from you that not everybody is going to have access to UC, and sometimes data is very contextual. So the same sales opportunity table might have different contexts for a sales organization versus a marketing organization versus the finance department. And so in this way, you can go ahead and curate the data locally within Genie and still get value from it. So I'm going to go ahead and use the table here to create a Genie space. You'll see that the whole creation flow is a lot simpler. You basically select your data. And what I'm going to do here is select a few other tables that are relevant to my analysis here. All right. Now I'm going to give my Genie space a name, sales opportunities. And what you'll see here is that the tables I have selected are shown in the context panel to the right. So in terms of the curation, you can go here and you'll see I have description and also column comments for my table. Now, not all the columns might be relevant to my analysis. And so I'm going to go here. There are a number of columns called new expansion. I don't really need these, so I'm going to hide these from Genie. The other thing that you'll notice here is that any foreign key or primary key relationships that you have defined in UC also show up here. So here's my opportunity table. Now I'm going to go to my accounts table. I see I have the primary key here. I don't really need the latitude and longitude for this particular analysis. Here's my region column. Maybe I want to give it a synonym. So I might say this is region or location and save that as well. What you see immediately in the Genie space is that we have populated it with a number of starter questions, but you can also add your own starter questions to help other people who use the same Genie space. So the first question I'm going to ask is, show me account names with opportunities in the past 4 months. And here I want to showcase Genie learning about the primary key and foreign key relationships just from UC. So if we look at the results, we have the names of the accounts. I can go ahead and take a look at the code, and you'll immediately see that the joined relationship is actually populated for me. And so in this way, as I go through this demo, you'll see that there's less and less need for you to add manual instructions as Genie is getting smarter on its own. But there are still certain things that you'll need to add to the manual instructions. Follow-up questions are populated below. So if I want to ask other relevant questions to the account names, I can go and look at the follow-ups and click through them and click on one. All right, so next up, I want to know, and this is a similar question to last year, what are all opportunities that we won? There's this concept of opportunities being in different stages, and you can close the opportunity by winning the opportunity or losing it. So here what I want to showcase is that you get citations for your question, so you know which table was actually used to get this. You'll have the parameter here that shows what was used as a filter to the query, and soon we're also going to allow you to be able to edit these parameters. And again, you can look at the code. Now, if you watched the talk from last year, we had to go and manually enter an instruction that opportunities that were closed, won, had to actually be in this stage, 5.close1. You may not immediately know this. So either you have to add it manually, but now that we have value dictionaries and also column samples, you get this type of information for free, so you don't have to go and manually enter it. All right, let's try some visualizations. How many sales reps do I have in each region? All right, so Genie comes back. It shows me all the regions and how many sales reps I have there. I can take a look at the code if I wanted to verify that it's correct. I don't really want this undefined row, and so I'm going to tell Genie to ignore it. Ignore the undefined row and show me a pie chart. All right, here we are. Now, Hanlin might come to me and say, hey, Shah, I thought that bar chart actually looked a lot better. And for some things, you may not necessarily want to type to Genie. You might just want to click the mouse and configure things from within visualization editor. And so here I can go back, make this into a bar chart. I don't really need the labels. And so voila, I have the visualization that I want. One of the things that you'll see on the context panel on the right side is I have some suggested queries here. What are these things? Let's click into them. So here I see queries that people have ran using the same set of data in the past, and they're suggested as additional context that I can add to the Genie space. So we have a few here. One is, what are the top 10 sales reps by won opportunities? That looks good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and accept it. And what you'll see is that actually we have some duplicates here. And the reason for this is that I'll be able to see all queries that I have permission access to. They may not be my own personal queries. So I don't need the duplicate. I'll go ahead and reject that one. There are a couple other duplicates as well. And so you want to make sure that the query is actually right and you trust it. I like this one about top 5 accounts that have the highest sales in mid-market. So I'll go ahead and accept that. Don't need the duplicate. I'm going to look at this year's from closed opportunities. It looks kind of simple. I don't think I need that right now, so I'm going to go ahead and reject it. All right, where did all that stuff go? So if you click into SQL queries here, you'll see that the queries have been added here. This first one is, what are the top 10 sales reps by won opportunities in 2024? Maybe I want to have more updated data for that. So I can ask Genie, what are the top 10 sales reps by won opportunities in 2025? And it's going to leverage that context from the mined queries to present you the right results. All right, here we are. I can take a look at the code. It's using what we have mined as a reference. And I also have the right sales folks here, so that's great as well. All right. What about technical jargon that you might have at your company? Again, this is a question from last year. Let's go ahead and try it and see how it's changed this year. So I might ask, what is DPEV for 2025? If you don't remember the term from last year, Genie doesn't either. Don't feel bad. I'm going to tell you what it is. But what it does do correctly is that it tells us that it doesn't know what that is. And so I'm going to tell it that DPEV is the demo pipeline expected value calculated as the sum of the amount multiplied by the probability. All right. So here Genie's learning. And what's cool about this is that now I can extract this additional knowledge into our knowledge store in Genie. So I can look at the code. It looks correct to me. It's the sum of the amount by the probability. And it chose the right stage name for me as well. This is my demo pipeline. So I'm going to go ahead and tell Genie that this is correct. It's now learning. This is happening live, so it will take a few seconds for it to learn. And now I can take a look and see, did it actually learn the thing that I want it to learn? And so there is a measure. It knows the definition of that measure. That's basically how you calculate expected value. It has the right filter for the stage name. And also it's learned that if I want to filter for a year, I can just use the year function. I don't really need that one, so I'm just going to accept the first 2 snippets. And here you see that knowledge has populated for us under instructions for the specific table here called the vehicle rock opportunity. All right. So this is the production version of this space. I have another version called my dev sales opportunity. And Hanlin and I might be using this space to iterate, to get this space to where we want it to be, to have accurate and performant results for other users who may not have manage or edit permission to this space. And so Hanlin has come to me and said, hey, Shah, I see that some of the queries can actually, or prompts can be inconsistent, and I've requested some reviews from you. So I can go ahead and filter by requested reviews, and I see Hanlin has sent two things for me. One is to show me all open ops right now, and the other one is show me all open opportunities. Both of these sound like the same question, so let me go ahead and take a look. I'm going to take a look at the code, and for this first one, the filter shows that an open opportunity is one that's not closed. Whether it's won or lost doesn't really matter, it's an open opportunity. This one looks correct to me. I'm going to look at this other one. And for this one, I see the filter is only filtering on opportunities that are closed. And so this is not correct. And the stage name should include things that are both won and lost. So my first hunch is to maybe go and take a look at the instructions. So I'm going to go back to the space under configure and see if I have any instructions that might potentially confuse Genie. And this is something that we've had customers and our users tell us about in terms of inconsistencies. And so you really want to go back to your space, look at the context, and look at any additional queries or examples that you have and make sure that they're not conflicting. Here, I'm looking at a few instructions that tell me what open opportunities are. There's one here that tells me open opportunities are those that are not won. And then there's another one that's conflicting, and it says open opportunities are ones that are not won or lost and are actually closed. And so this first one doesn't look correct to me. I'm going to remove it and save this space. All right, so now it should get me more accurate results. That concludes our demo. I'm going to hand over to Hanlin to go over what's next for Genie. Thanks.
So have you seen, there's some super awesome things that you can do inside of a Genie space now. We've revamped the ability for you to provide helpful context to the LLM, and also for Genie as a guidance tool. So as you simply converse with it, talk to it over time, suggesting those snippets of context for you as the author to review. But we're just as excited about the future, and there's three main investment themes as we're looking at into the future. First is to always improve and continue iterating on answer quality. At the end of the day, these tools only matter and are helpful when you're giving good SQL back. We want to make it easier for authors to add helpful context with those SQL expressions that Shah showed, and also those suggested instructions. Those features should be coming in pretty soon at the end of this month. We also want to make the actual base text of SQL more accurate as well, with specific efforts to target better clarification questions, improve latency, and higher quality visualizations. The second is we want to make the actual productionization of Genie a lot easier as well. A couple specific features to call out is first, we want to make those create, update, delete APIs available so that you can programmatically build these spaces out. We also want to make it easy to export and import these Genie spaces between workspaces as well. And we also are looking to GA our conversation API so that you can put those Slack bots and custom UIs into production. And finally, we want to continue making it easier for business users to also understand how to use a Genie space. Just as important as generating the answer is, they need to be able to trust and review the results. To help with this, a couple specific features we're looking at is first, improved answer explanations. And second, letting users actually edit and change those filters and refine the answers themselves. We also want to make this more usable via API. So we want to look at returning visualizations and also letting users give thumbs up and thumbs downs via API as well. Really, really appreciate all you guys taking some time again at the near end of DIAS, and hopefully this was helpful to understand how to build and manage a Genie space. We'd like to open up for questions now. Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you all again. Really appreciate you all being here. If you have other questions, feel free to come up. We have a couple other minutes left. Thank you.